Hello, my name is Annalisa Brewster. In this presentation, I will address how improving mathematical literacy in the classroom improves students' ability to analyze and think critically about math. Today, teachers are experiencing students who struggle with mathematical literacy and have difficulty understanding how to solve math problems, with word problems being the biggest challenge. The purpose of this study is to assess them before the skill is taught and incorporate mathematical games and activities that develop conceptual knowledge of the standard so that they have a much deeper understanding of the standard and can be successful solving math problems. In this presentation, I will address how improving mathematical literacy in the classroom improves students' ability to analyze and think critically about math. Mathematical literacy is the ability to use math skills to solve problems in our daily lives. The study addresses how to improve mathematical literacy in the classroom to improve students' ability to analyze, critically think about math. When students are given the opportunities to use hands-on manipulatives, it helps them make connections with the concept being taught. Students being able to analyze and have discussion about concepts with a partner or whole group is another beneficial way to promote mathematical literacy. Modeling is another concept that improves mathematical literacy by allowing students to make connections by using a visual representation or model to connect to their recording. It is important for students to know that modeling math with their recordings helps solidify that concept that they're learning. Modeling gives a visual that they can use when they are struggling with a problem. Mathematical games build students' ability to make connections as well as develop a deeper understanding. Not only does math games develop a deeper understanding for mathematical literacy, but research shows that incorporating math games develop and improve students' attitude towards learning math as well as increasing their love for mathematics and their achievement. So let's discuss some of the issues that may hinder mathematical literacy from a teacher's perspective. Time restraints make it difficult for incorporating new practices. Speaking with colleagues, they argue that it is just easier to follow along in the textbook and use the activities and manipulatives that have already been designed for that program. The planning of the informal assessment that drives the instruction and the planning activities that support the standard and how to analyze their work will require a lot of time and diligence on the teacher's behalf. No, not traditional. It's not a traditional way of teaching for most of the veteran teachers. National Assessment of the Educational Practices, known as NAEP, conducted a recent research given to 4, 8, and 12th grade students. 59% of the students in grade 4 are below basic level in comparison to the 32% who are proficient and the 9% at an advanced level. According to the data from my 4th grade classroom, the data shows the proficiency and non-proficiency of the particular standard for grade 4 using models and decimal notation to represent fractions with denominators 10 to 100. The data represented growth for this standard from the beginning of the year to the winter benchmark assessment. The data was taken from the STAR assessment. The data shows student proficiency in the standard of using models and decimals to represent fractions with denominators of 10 to 100. Noticing that there was no data showing students secure in the 80 to 100 percentile of this standard. The data was gathered is evidence that students lack proficiency for this standard according to the STAR mathematics test. This study focused on 4th grade students in both classes. This study incorporates the use of different math practices such as modeling, mathematical games, analyzing and reasoning, word problems through discussion. By incorporating these practices, there should be an increase of proficiency for this standard while achieving mathematical literacy. Not only will these practices increase proficiency in the standard, but it will also increase their love for math, with hopes of them being able to evaluate math problems better. It has been evident through this study that the achievement improves when they learn through modeling mathematical games and collaboration. Incorporating these practices into the curriculum can only result in students having stronger mathematical literacy. The population consisted of all students in my fourth grade class. The classes are a mix of students with high, average, and low ability and a few students with special needs. The research was conducted by using the results from pre and post data. Classes were distinguished as Class A and Class B. This study compared how mathematical activities improved mathematical literacy in the classroom. There is no risk to the students. Informed consent was obtained from the parents and guardians as this study does involve minors. A sample of 43 students, 22 in one class and 21 in the other, participated in the study. In Class A, 22 students consist of 12 girls and 10 boys. 13 black students, 5 white, 2 Hispanic, 1 Arabic, and 1 biracial. 3 students in the class are of low socioeconomic status, as the others are from middle class socioeconomic status. Class B consists of 21 students, 13 girls and 8 boys. 13 students are white, 8 students are black. There is only 1 student who is from a low socioeconomic status, and the rest are from middle class socioeconomic status. These classes were chosen because there is only 1 math teacher in this grade, and the teacher is the only teacher in the school who participates in math literacy training. So the procedures that happened during this study, both classes were given a pretest. Class A participated in a fraction of the day. Fraction of the day is where students were given a random fraction on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and students had to model what the fraction looked like, put the fraction on a number line, tell whether or not that fraction was closer to 0, half, or whole, and they had to tell if that fraction was a unit fraction. As time progressed, students would participate in Fraction of the Day Part 2, which had more rigorous activities for students to participate with that fraction. This activity was only done on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the first 10 minutes of class. Class A, after participating in Fraction of the Day, would play a game called Capturing Hexagons with a partner. This game consisted of students rolling a dice with fractions that represented a half, 1/6, 1/3, 5/6, and students used fractional pieces, which were polygons, to represent the fractions that were on the dice. Throughout the game, students were able to trade up when they noticed that they could make an equivalent fraction with the fractions that they were using. Class B would only participate in Fraction of the Day only, and they received the same review as Class A. The instruments used were pre and post assessments and STAR math for the standard of using models of decimal notations to represent fractions from 10 to 100. STAR math was given based on the system's scheduled window, and scores were based from the state record report. The progress of this study should exhibit students showing in the level of 80 to 100% proficiency. This action plan was implemented to facilitate students in mathematical literacy. Through this plan of action, students were able to model, analyze fraction concepts, use fractional vocabulary to explain their thinking and reasoning. The impact has been evident through our class discussions, their work on pre and post assessments over the course of the study. Through this study, students exhibit confidence in solving math problems. They were able to explain and justify their thinking, when to use appropriate models and tools, and vocabulary and appropriate strategies when needed. Because the data showed growth by incorporating these practices in this particular standard, these practices will be used in others as well. Watching students' conceptual understanding of fractions increase from a basic level of understanding to a more complex was very rewarding for them and the teacher. Students were able to explain fractional concept use vocabulary during their explaining, use models to represent fractions to determine equivalence, as well as relate modeling to their math recording. Things that could be changed in this study is to incorporate the number line more with the area model to make the connection of how the two can be related or looked at as the same. Being more persistent with students being consistent with their math recordings and models to ensure that they have a concrete understanding between the relationship of the two.